Good afternoon, and welcome to another lackadaisical episode of Diatribes from the Voice of Doom. And now here's your insouciant and feckless host, Voice of Doom. Hello. Who asked you? Did a diatribe shortly after New Year's, and it was so boring I didn't even post it. Maybe I'll do it later, but it was extremely sad. So I turned on the news today. We're beginning a new year, 2022. It's Tuesday, which is usually when things happen. And I saw that Petri Dish was going to say a few words prior to him getting any information vis-a-vis the pandemic. And so he gave his usual spiel about how people who have refrained from getting the serum have caused a lot of trouble with hospitals being overrun, and he's doing everything he can to get everything out, including, I guess, this red pill they got going that's going to help protect against the COVID variants. So I watched that, and it was the same, and he says, I'm going search mode. I got more information which you may be interested in. There's another variant, and we're not even through with the repercussions of Omicron. And there's a new variant that came out of nowhere that they haven't been able to name yet, which is weird because they could name it pi, or rho, or sigma, or tau, or upsilon, or phi, or chi, or psi, or omega. And then once those are all used up, they can go into the Arabic alphabet, or whatever the hell they want to do. Now, IHU is the latest. It originated in Cameroon and made its way to France. And it is Marseille, where they found cases. It's very, very transmissible, and apparently the vaccines may be ineffective, and it has many, many more mutations than Omicron, which by all accounts is kind of like the flu, the regular flu. In fact, probably not even as bad as the regular flu, because they're keeping track of things more now as far as who lives and dies, and less people are dying from Omicron. That's just the bottom line. And no one knows how full the hospitals are because you're not allowed to go into them. You haven't been allowed to go into them for the last year and a half. Now, I tell you about another variant with way more mutations that may be resistant to the vaccine. So let's go into a little thing called Y. Because I'm not going to say nothing about nothing. I'm just going to ask questions with a few little jibes and sarcastic barbs thrown in. Why did they shut down the world in the first place when Alpha came out? I mean, when there was obviously no overwhelming of hospitals, why didn't they just open things up again quickly, everything, instead of being shut down for 3 months, the whole world, crippling ourselves, deliberately taking a sword and cutting our own leg off Why would we do that? Why'd they discredit any therapeutics when the last, and I mean final, president was in office? Any possible cures were poo-pooed, lambasted, and ridiculed, and twisted around to sound like the last, I mean final, president said anything, they'd say, he's saying to drink bleach, he's saying take horse pills, he's saying, we all saw it. Nobody asked why they did that. They just accepted. Why did the serum come out so fast when other ones have taken forever? They still haven't come up with a serum for HIV. So, why did Petri dish and the gargoyle express doubt about even taking the serum when the last, and I mean final, president was in office? Why were they so skeptical? Why didn't they say, if we become president, if we come into power, then we will expedite the vaccine, the serum? Why didn't they just say it that way instead of saying, well, if Trump is president, then I don't know if I trust the serum? Why'd they do that? And then they get on board immediately after Petri dish so-called wins. And that's another why. Why would we elect a demented, corrupt old fool that's been totally ineffective all his life as president of what used to be the United States? Why would we do that? I mean, there's no upside. Because if you say there was no fraud, that means that over half the country voted for a demented fool. That's not good. Why? Let's see. Why were the serums promoted so aggressively? Why did they have people with the Wheel of Fortune and free beer, and I heard something about even call girl services being rendered to those who agree to get the serum? Now, why are they so bound and determined to make sure everybody gets their fair share of the serum worldwide, across the board? The third world countries are complaining because they're not getting their share. And they're pumping them out as fast as they can. Why so aggressively? I just don't understand that. Why do we do gain of function before coming out with the cures? Seems to me, if you take a rather benign virus and say, well, we want to make it stronger and more virulent, and then we'll come up with the cure to cure that, so that if there's ever a pandemic, we'll be ready. So you think, well, we're going to make this happen, so let's make the cure ahead of time. Doesn't make sense the way they did it. Why did they do it that way? Why do they keep backtracking on everything they say? I believe it wasn't that long ago that Petri dish was saying how if you're vaccinated, you will not get COVID. Now he's saying if you're vaccinated, you may get COVID, but, it may be, you won't get severe symptoms, which people aren't getting anyway. See, the Omicron came through to end the pandemic, but we fooled with nature. We fooled with everything, and we made it worse. Why do they discredit and vilify any contrary opinions? It seems to me that they used to say you should get a second opinion, and now all second opinions are forbidden in a very science fiction, social dystopia way. They're saying, this is the way it is, and it's dangerous for you to even say anything contrary to what we're saying, and we're science. One guy is science, and everybody else is vilified and discredited. Even the people that invent the serum are discredited and tried to be squelched. They don't want the inventors' opinions to be heard by people. I wonder why. Why? Okay. That's a good list of things to keep people thinking. And you see on the media that they always go along with the conscriptions, even though they're very suspicious of why they're trying to be so aggressive about making people get the serum. But yet they agree with the serum. They never say they don't. Never. They always say they agree wholeheartedly, but why force people? Why do they do that? And why do they, what was I going to say? Why do they express a lot of skepticism about how, information is being squelched and they can look all backwards and see how everything happened, and they still act like, nothing strange is going on. It's just all going to be taken care of as soon as we get through this pandemic, which we're not going to get through, obviously. IHU. They haven't even had time to name it yet. They don't have time to look it up in the damn Wikipedia, the Greek alphabet, and go, well, I guess we have Omicron, so I guess pi is next. Okay. So, the reason is simple and horrendous. The reason is because people don't want to actually think about what possibly could be going on. They do not want to think about it, because that means that the world we live in has been a fraud the whole time we've been alive. And it has been, and everybody knows it. And they don't want to see what they've been doing and why they did it. March 20th, 19th, 2020 was a pretext to change everything. And I mean everything. That means, like I've said before, depopulation, redistribution, and a new form of governance. And it's obvious because I've asked you how many why questions that if you put it all together, you know why. We elect an idiot to oversee a disaster because this IHU is going to come through, and then what? More serums? More boosters? Sooner or later, people are going to go, wait a minute. How much of this is in my body, and is the immunity dependence enhancement of disease taking place, or what? And they keep saying, they're going to ostracize those people that didn't get the serum. They're going to be put into separate encampments because this IHU is going to come through, and they're still going to blame people who didn't get the serum for why it's spreading until everybody's been given the serum by hook or crook. You got to ask yourself why. And I'll leave it at that. I could talk for another minute, but I won't, because I think I left you with enough to think about. 2022 is just starting, and pandemics, and right around the corner is international upheaval. So get ready for that. Enjoy the rest of the day.